The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Here we go, Barflies. Welcome to the Barfly Tailgate Show. You already know it's done by Barflies for Barflies and all the other Bears fans out there. Well, fellas, we made it. We made it through the offseason. We made it through the preseason. The next time we see our Chicago Bears, they will be lining up against the hated Green Bay Packers in 2 short weeks. And I, for one, cannot wait. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I'm going to need to pull from you a lot because NFL Network, although they showed it live the last 2 weeks, did not show it live to me yesterday, and I had to work. So all I've seen is the box score and a couple of highlights. So I'll be pulling from my resources to know exactly what happened yesterday. But let's hit some intros and tell everybody how we're doing this morning and how our week was. I'll start with Chris, and I'll go around the room this way.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. Hi, guys. Always great to be back with you, man. And hello to everybody in the chat. And you know me, mate. Usual week of ducking and diving and just try to keep it all together. But yeah, always great to be talking football with you boys. And it's good to see that Jordan didn't get blown away on the West Coast. So he's back and he looks like he's in one place. So yeah, it's always great to be back. And yeah, there's quite a lot to talk about. So it should be a good show.
I think so too. KB, I know you got a wild house going on over there. How you doing this morning?
Man, your boy doing good, man. You know, starting to shake back from the 48, but your boy feeling good, man. You know what I'm saying? Caught a little bit of the game. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. KB had to work the last 2 days in a row, so he's a trooper for us this morning. I don't know if I'd be on here if I did that. Jordan, out west. What's up, brother? How you doing this morning?
Fellas, good morning. Always good to see you. Chat, Tareem, Matthew, Jeremy, Cornelius. Appreciate you all being here. I'm making light of it. We'll always have something to talk about. But AC, you did yourself a favor. You really didn't miss much of anything. I mean, it was. We'll talk about it. But the game yesterday was interesting to say the least.
Yeah, Cornelius said I missed an underwhelming performance. I mean, what I did see, though, and I'd like to lead off with this, is I saw a nice little pass from Justin Fields to DJ Moore. We continue to see this connection, and I think this bodes well for us in the regular season. I mean, the 2 times we've seen them in live action, one was a 60-yard touchdown, and the other one was DJ Moore just – I mean, the dude's a monster. He grabs the ball from the fucking turf and – turns around, turns upfield, breaking tackles. I mean, my guy, I'm so happy we got a number 1 wide receiver. That was the biggest thing for me that I saw. At least, like I said, all I saw was really highlights, and I saw that, and they showed a Darrington Evans run against our 4th string, 5th string guys. So other than that, I'm not sure what all I missed. What are you guys as excited about DJ Moore as I am, or am I can't be alone in this, right?
No. I mean, I'm so excited to see how this guy's going to put out this year. It's sort of, what we've had to put up with in the receiving corps for the last couple of seasons, and now we've actually got a bona fide number one. What seems in this moment in time that every time he catches the ball, he goes 40, 50 yards. But I'm glad Justin made that throw, because in his previous passing, it felt like he was rushing it quite a lot to me. He was rushing his reads and trying to get the ball out really quick. There was, a few were quite down for receivers, but DJ Moore, man, he's like a ray of sunshine. He's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Jordan? Are you excited to see the 1 + 2 = 6 connection this year?
I'll tell you what. I mean, it was probably. I mean, it wasn't probably. It was the best moment of the game yesterday, and I mean that's not a bad thing. But this goes to tell you what type of game it was. But and I don't mean to jump into maybe you had this question later, but the thing that I come back to thinking of these last 3-4 weeks is that DJ Moore to me is probably the best wide receiver that the Bears have ever had. I mean, like, let's just be real here. I mean, I know that it's a different body style. It's a different type of Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall came in later in his career. You have Johnny Knox. You have Devin Hester, different explosiveness, things of that sort. But when you're talking about just the absolute best wide receiver in Chicago Bears history, I think it's probably DJ Moore. And that's a little embarrassing that it's taken 100 years to get here. But when you actually think about it, I just don't think there's really much of a comparison. What's the next best receiver? Maybe Curtis Conway back in the 90s, early 2000s? Like,
I'd say Willie Galton.
I was going to say someone's going to throw out Willie Galton in the chat, I'm sure.
And I hear you, but I don't know. I guess in different eras, it's always hard. The last thing I'd say about DJ Moore is just that, to me, and I had DJ Moore as the comp a while ago, but now that you've really seen Jamar Chase turn into who he is, I think the only difference between he and DJ Moore is that DJ Moore's just never had the right quarterback to go with it. Mm-hmm. And we'll see if Justin Fields is that guy. I know all Bears fans are ready to go that Justin Fields is him. We'll see. But to me, I don't think it's hyperbole. I really do believe that DJ Moore is akin to Jamar Chase. They're roughly the same size, same explosiveness. They get yak like nobody else, really good contact balance, can play X receiver, even though they're not your traditional X archetype at 6'3", 6'4". So to me, it's very clear he's been the best player of all preseason for the Chicago Bears. It's very clear he's the best player on the Chicago Bears. And people, and I promise I'll end with this, people get so antsy about, like, I remember Danny from our own network getting so antsy about why didn't Ryan Poles snag that 39th pick from Scott Fitterer in the trade back from 1 to 9? And because as much as we all love picks don't mean anything until 3-4 years down the road. And I know this sounds, again, like hyperbole, but even if you went from 1 to 9 and all you got was DJ Moore, that to me is like the ultimate just queen on the chessboard. Because you've got a receiver that's 25 years old, under financial control. He signed the deal before receivers got expensive. You know he's a proven commodity. You're already seeing the returns in 10 snaps in the preseason? Like, to me, you fellas know me. I'll be harsh when I don't like what's going on, and I have plenty of things like that to say. But kudos to Ryan Poles and Luke Getsy and the Bears staff for finding a way to pull DJ Moore away from the Panthers, and now I'd argue that the Bears have the best receiver in their franchise history.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's really tough to compare generations, and we hear this with Jordan versus LeBron. It's a completely different game now. I mean, if you put, I've always said, with the way the game is now, if you put Devin Hester in the way the game is now, he would be a lot more successful than he had to be back then, where you had to be a big physical guy who could go across the middle and take those hits. You don't need that anymore because they're not allowed to touch you. If Hester was able to play in today's game, it's very possible that he would be looked at as one of our best receivers of all time. There's a special place in my heart for Brandon Marshall and the connection that he had with Jay Cutler. I know a lot of people it's a mixed bag with Jay Cutler. You know, some throws looks incredible, and some throws you're like, what is he looking at? And that was always the issue with Jay. The gunslinger, the definition of the gunslinger was Jay Cutler. And then, of course, people that were around when the 85 Bears were prevalent, would talk about Willie Galton, what he did for Jim McMahon back then, you know. So it's really difficult to compare different time frames of the NFL, but I definitely am loving everything I'm seeing out of DJ Moore. And as I said before, I've watched DJ Moore. When they first drafted him out of Maryland, I was like, I don't know about this guy, but Steve Smith Sr. was on the NFL Network's draft coverage, and he was like, they've been looking to replace me since I retired, and I think they finally did. And the guy just puts up numbers no matter who's throwing him the ball. They had Sam Darnold, they had Cam Newton, they had Baker Mayfield, they had PJ Walker, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But no matter who is throwing him the ball, the guy just puts up numbers. So obviously he's one of those talents at wide receiver that can raise the level of play of their quarterback, which is exactly what we're looking for with Justin Fields. With his contract coming up in a year or two, he's going to have to prove that either this year or next year, you're the guy, we're going to pay you, or we got 2 first-round picks next year, fellas. If it doesn't click this year, who knows what polls might do.
Bro, you sure one of the picks ain't for Chris Jones? I just had to do it. I had to poke it.
It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't be against it, honestly. KB, talk to me about DJ Moore a little bit, and then we'll talk about. I mean, if you want to talk Chris Jones, we can talk Chris Jones.
Okay, I got you. I'm going ahead and double down on Jordan's sentiment, man. DJ Moore might be the best receiver the Bears have ever had. You know what I'm saying, in the franchise's history. And that's not to sit there and say I'm comparing him to Marshall or, you know what I'm saying, somebody like that. You got to, like I said, we take it into the totality of things. DJ Moore's 25. When we got Brandon Marshall was like, what, 27? I didn't even say 27. He was like maybe 28, 29. You knew he was on the back end of his career. It wasn't the Brandon Marshall in his prime. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Brandon Marshall was still a menace. Brandon Marshall still demanded that hey, I need a corner and a safety over me type deal. You had double team Marshall. And to me, in my era of play, I think the next closest person, if you don't go the trade route, would have been Alshon Jeffrey. Now, we knew how the Alshon Jeffrey story played out. Came out the gate slow. Marshall gets here. He picked up, and then he started to look like something. But as soon as he started to look like something, it was, all right, Alshon Jeffrey's out the door. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's not even to say that he's one of the greatest wide receivers of all time or nothing like that, but he's the only example I think we have of our era of a wide receiver that was here,
homegrown,
actually was homegrown. But then as soon as the talent started to show, he pieced out. I'm good. This team isn't going anywhere. I'm straight. So you get DJ Moore, who can literally run every route. He has the breakaway speed. You know what I'm saying? I think they say he ran like a 4.4. My man looks like gang speed. It looks like he runs a fucking 4.2. You see my man pull away from people. He's solid because he's solid. He's built almost like a running back. So he's hard to take down, and you've seen that in the catch that happened yesterday. He slips the tackles and he's out. He's gone. I'm excited to see how the season plays out. We all pray for health for players to make sure they make it through the full season. But you got to realize this kid was doing what DeAndre Hopkins was doing. He was putting up his numbers with nobody throwing him the ball. So I'm excited. It was nice to see. It's clear that he might be the best player on offense. And that's saying a lot because last year we know the best player on the field pretty much last year was Fields. Yeah. And now that was anybody that sat there and tried to say anything different was a fucking lie. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see the offense not be vanilla. So I'm hoping once we see what the offense really is, then we'll start to see what we heard in training camp with balls being thrown deep and touchdowns being called and whatnot. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see it, man.
Yeah. So Jay Sanders says Bears need to fix the O-line before they spend money on Jones. Center and guard positions will need real depth. I know Whitehair hurt his hand. They had to move him to guard. They moved Lucas Patrick into center, and then he only did like 2 padded practices before he got hurt again. I don't know if the Lucas Patrick thing's going to work. I think he might be a guy that we see cut in a couple of days or given some sort of injury settlement. I don't know how all that works.
Everybody is hurt. Doug Kramer apparently
Doug
walked out with
went in and then got hurt. Yeah.
They say he had a cast on his arm and wrist.
No, but we do need to remember, I think cut day is Tuesday. That's the day that teams have to cut down from 90 teams to 53, I believe. So we have the first waiver claim. So we might see quite a few waivers for the Bears picking up offensive linemen. We need a center. We need a guard because Tevin can't stay healthy. I'm sorry, Jordan. I know it's your guy.
No, it's fair.
The guy can't stay healthy. I mean, you pencil in Leatherwood, I guess, at left guard. He hasn't moved, so I guess that means he's doing okay there. At the very least, he's staying decently healthy. I haven't heard anything about him being hurt, but he's staying healthy. I mean, right tackle, we drafted Darnell Wright, and apparently he's got an ankle issue, which, man, it's just I literally – got tired of looking at my phone this week because every time I looked at it, there was another
somebody was hurt.
And I was like, what the we're not even at week 1 yet, fellas, you know?
And it wasn't even like they were like, oh, it's hurt all over the place. No, bro, it's literally the O-line. It's
it's like the ultimate sods looking at that. We've got all these nice new weapons for Justin Fields, and then the offensive line breaks down like it has. It's sort of like it's like somebody upstairs is there somebody upstairs a Packers fan or something? It's just sort of like what's going on. But I mean the coaches are sort of saying that a lot of them should be ready for week 1, but it's just been. I mean they were down to the 4th center like yesterday in the game. So, I mean, the depth is gone. I mean, it's just that's what I was really worried about when they played Justin yesterday. I just thought, is he just going to get absolutely flawed up the middle or something? But, that is my biggest concern going into week 1 is our offensive line. And also, I'd say second is the defensive line as well, because yesterday they were quite soft up the middle a few times, and we didn't get the pressure on like we did during the first preseason game. So both lines to me are sort of, really sort of concerns to me.
Yeah, and we got to remember how many draft picks the Packers have put into that defensive line that we're going to play week 1. It's a lot of first-round picks and early draft picks that they've invested into their defensive line, and if you got practice squad guys trying to block them, it's not going to be pretty for us. So I definitely think we'll be looking at the waiver wire. Maybe we'll get some former Packers in here again because we run their offense. So if there's guys that Getsy knows, like, hey, this dude can play, or even look out for Steelers guys because our offensive line coach came from Pittsburgh. So that'll definitely be something I'll be watching for Tuesday, bringing in some offensive linemen. I don't know if there's a lot of defensive linemen that we can sneak in and grab, honestly. KB, did your cousin play yesterday? Did he play a whole lot? Or
I got to watch the first drive. It looks like I was at work and we had got a call like right when the game started, which I think I seen him out there for the first drive.
He was playing. But they pulled him, I think, after like 7 plays.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I came back and I watched, it was like the entire fucking first team defense was gone and save for like Tucker Stevenson and then like a couple of people.
Yeah,
so,
I'm not dogging on Billings, but they pulled everybody after Josh Allen. It was just like, you guys suck. Watch how I just dig it up and I just cook on you all that. So they were like, all right, let's pull them.
Yeah, it's amazing what no pass rush will do for you.
Yeah.
You probably want to see what those young guys got too. I mean, we talked about Dexter last week and Pickens and Bell and Terrell Lewis has been trying to cut. So they're probably still trying to, because I heard an interview on Hogan Johns with Ryan Poles, and he said, cut day is going to be tough this year. It's going to be tough to choose between this player or that player if they're similar, or because we've raised the floor of our team. We had to. There was no other way about it. If you're a bad team, raising the floor of your team is easier than breaking through the ceiling. So that'll be something to watch. as far as the game goes yesterday, like I said, I didn't watch it. I looked at the box score. I didn't see a ton. So it's really difficult for me to come on here and talk about it. What did Roshan Johnson look good, or what all did I miss?
I mean, I'd have to say Buffalo were definitely the best team we played in the preseason. When they started offense, like just started rolling down on their first drive, they just looked elite. They really did. It like wow. But yeah, Roshan Johnson, man, he played really well, really well. What are you two laughing at?
I'm laughing, Chris, just because you're not wrong.
Oh, I thought you were laughing at me.
No, I'm laughing, Chris, because you're not wrong. You're absolutely.
The KB's doing something funny, and then Jordan's laughing with KB. Or they're all like on a conspiracy trip. So I just thought I'm just going to cut it off.
No. Chris, I was laughing only because
I've lost my track anyway.
Chris, I was laughing just because I don't think it's. I mean, I guess it is funny. That's why I'm laughing. But I'm rather embarrassed to watch the team I root for look like the JV team as the Buffalo Bills are just marching. And like I said, it's no disrespect to Big Andrew Billings or anybody else, but like I said, I'm going to try to keep it positive energy here for all of you. But I'm really very unhappy with the last 3 weeks, and I could go on a bunch of different rants. I mean, what about the injuries and the way I think about injuries, to how personnel was used, to the coaching decisions and the offense that they were rolling out. And there's a lot of things I'm not very happy with. And I was laughing because you're not wrong, Chris. We did watch Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills look like a properly run organization. I understand that Josh Allen stirs the drink. I understand he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. If it wasn't him or Justin Herbert, I know I always zag when everybody zigs. So I understand Patrick Mahomes is the best. I always admit that, but I probably wouldn't take him. I'd go a different route just because I like what Josh Allen has. I understand he's the straw that stirs the drink, but I also saw Kyle Allen look like a star in there as well. So it's just one of those things that, I mean, different Allen, same last name, throwing a different jersey number, looks almost like the same player playing out there. So it's a situation where you can't help but look at the Bears and go, what are we doing here? You look disorganized. You look like shit, to be honest. And to your point and I'll stop here because, like I said, I can go down 100 of these. The question about Roshan always looks good. But, I mean, again, how many times are we going to say, hey, Roshan
might be your number one?
No, yeah, Roshan keeps looking good. Cool, let's keep throwing him behind the third string offensive line, see what he does. What are we doing here? What are we doing? I'm just it's weird because sometimes they get it. Hey, Bagent looks really good. Let's go ahead and give the second team reps and see what happens, and we can talk about that. That's probably one of the more positive things. But yesterday felt like a fever pitch dream of what are we doing here? What Tyler Scott's your 4th round pick, and I get he's returning kicks and everything. He took a couple big hits, but he's not really playing much receiver. I get he had a tough time with the drop. He fumbled in the first game. Hasn't really done much since at receiver. Bayless Jones is hurt. The rookie DTs play okay. They're fine. They're not bad. It's not bad. It's not great. They're just, on schedule. It just feels like I didn't actually understand, or I don't feel like we were able to glean a lot of information from the game yesterday. And I feel like, to be quite frank, and the Colts one felt a lot the same. It was like, well, what? You pulled Bagent after, a couple drives. You could have played him longer. You're playing Peterman half the game. You played Fields for 10 plays in the first game, if that. They were all behind the line. Like, I don't agree. Fundamentally, I don't agree with a lot of the things that are going on at Hallis Hall recently. But that's me.
Man, since you're not going to say it, I said we looked like shit yesterday. Okay? First of all, the coaching kills me. All right? For what Jordan was saying, Kyle Allen, for one, did look like Josh Allen. It was legit a point in the game where I came back and I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, clearly we have our second string again. Why the fuck is Josh Allen still in? Why? Because dude is literally dicing the defense up. There looked like no change. It just looked like they swapped numbers and he was somebody different. So you get this bland defense out there. The soft fucking zone coverage they keep wanting to run is driving me beyond up a wall, bro. Why are we fucking 9 yards off when it's 3rd and 3? All this other shit, bro. I will never understand it, but they keep doing The defensive line, the push up the middle wasn't there. You had a few good pass rushes off the edge from Gibson, but apparently he's on the fucking trade block all of a sudden.
They told him to go find a trade partner.
Yeah. So the thing that kills me about the coaching, they put Justin Fields on a pitch count of 13 plays. Okay. Your first drive, he goes 3 and out. Second drive, I believe he went 3 and out. But they had a clear and obvious pass interference that should have been called on DJ Moore that did not get called. Next drive he comes in, you start to get a little bit of something, and then he gets popped, understandably, and then next play he's not out there. Why aren't you letting Justin Fields finish his fucking drive? To tell me that 13 plays was his pitch count, for one, whoever does fucking odd numbers. The only people that do that shit are communists and serial killers, okay? So
I gotta pull that.
13 fucking plays. You have an odd number of set plays. You take him after he has a big hit and he's inside the red zone. Nah, bro. The eyes can see. I can see what I'm seeing. Y'all got worried. Y'all got scared, and y'all pulled that man after he took a pop. That's what it was. Just come out and say the shit. Don't say, "Oh, well, it's the pitch count." No, it was no fucking pitch count. He got popped. Let's just be honest with it. It's football. It's gonna happen. But to see the non-success of the first team offense was kind of fucking staggering. I get it. They took a couple deep shots. Deep shots didn't connect. If the deep shots did not connect, let Fields stay in there. Let him have a scoring drive going into the Packers game. We didn't get to see a scoring drive. Then you get the nonsense of whatever the hell they are doing with Tyson Bagent. Listen, he's quarterback too. At this point, PJ Walker played himself out of a second job. I mean, a second string starting job, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Bagent is your number 2. Roshan Johnson should be the starting running back. Khalil Herbert takes, if you want to say the ball's a little bit above his head, whatever the fuck, hit him in the hands on one of the drives. It would have probably been a short yard, like maybe a 3 or 4 yard gain, but it's still 3 or 4 yards. That's on schedule. The ball hits him directly in the hands for Fields. He drops it. Gets popped by Milano. Bro, you're supposed to be the starting running back, bro. You can't miss the layups. That's a layup. That's helping Fields stay on schedule.
Yeah.
As much as I love Herbert, the skill set is there. He is not a starting running back. There were times he was missing blocks. He still hasn't figured that out. He is your change of pace back. He is exactly what he was last year. You bring him in after Roshan breaks a 3 or 4 yard run so he can break off the 50-yarder. That's his job. That's his role. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a running back by committee. Roshan Johnson right now should be your number 1 running back. But listen, like I said, Jordan, you ain't got to say it. I'll say it. They look like shit. The coaching I'm not understanding. With the whole defensive line thing, Zach Pickens has looked a lot better than what Javon Dexter has, but you need to switch them. I don't care what the job is or whatever the fuck y'all trying to do. Dexter needs to go to nose tackle, and Zach Pickens needs to be your fucking rush D tackle, whatever the fuck it's called. But yeah.
Well, I mean, one of these teams is a Super Bowl contender, and the other one's in the middle of a rebuild. So maybe that's part of what we saw on the field yesterday. It kind of sucks because we had higher hopes than that this year, especially bringing in DJ Moore. And as I said, the pressure's on Fields to whether we're going to have to give him a long-term contract or what's going to happen with that. But, I mean, when you got the Bills, who are a top team in the top conference, let's be honest, the AFC's loaded. So, yeah, it's gonna be difficult. But if it's a coaching issue, if it's a us problem, that's a bigger issue. I know I saw a video on Twitter this morning where Tyler Scott was like, they did a change at the line, and Tyler Scott was supposed to get a screen pass, but he didn't. I don't know if he didn't hear it or if he didn't know what he was supposed to be doing, but he goes out for a regular pass, and Justin just has to eat it. It was one of those, he tries to take off, but, if you're trying to set up a screen pass, then you don't have protection. So he wasn't able to do anything with it. And when you're when you're week 3 of the preseason and you're looking disorganized, that doesn't sound good for, live bullets are coming in 2 weeks, and the Packers, whether it's Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Bart Starr, it don't matter. They're coming to beat the Bears. That's their goal. That's been their goal since 1919 when they started the damn franchise. So they're not going to take it easy on us in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be in front of the whole world. I believe that's a 4:00 game on Fox. Everyone's going to be watching that ball game. And if Justin doesn't look good, we're going to hear it for all week. Is Justin the guy in Chicago? You're going to hear Colin Cowherd. You're going to hear NFL Live. You're going to hear all these guys are going to talk about that game because that is America's game of the week in week 1. And I just hope we got to get our shit together, man. That's all there is to it. I mean, they said they look good in practice against the Colts, and I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to play your starters, then don't play your starters. And then this week they said they were going to, and like KB said, Fields gets popped and they pull him, Mike Tomlin was on a press conference. I saw it this morning where they said, why are you playing your starters in the preseason? And he said, well, you don't box without sparring first. You're not just going to go out there. And I thought that was a perfect quote from one of the best coaches in the league today. This is a guy who's never finished below 500, and he's going to put his guys out there.
I don't know if you – I mean, you know me, fellas. I'm Mr. NFL. But I don't know if you understand, for the chat even, how the Pittsburgh Steelers run camp. They are like truly – and I'm not saying they bend the rules, but you can listen to any NFL correspondent, anybody that's out there. Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Andy Reid's another one that gets talked about this way. But in Latrobe, where they do training camp, they hit – like full speed, full pad. Because here's the thing, they don't hit when you can't. That's what I'm saying. They're not bending rules. But there's none of this grab ass where you kind of wrap them up and then we let go or we tag them. And then, no, when it's pads day, you put helmet into their chest and you drive them to the ground. It's full tackles. And there's all of a sudden you start seeing them playing preseason. Everybody looks sharp and they're ready to go. They're not missing tackles. You're not having Darrington Evans run everywhere. All of a sudden, and I know that sounds, it's so dangerous. But there's a certain point, too, where the body learns to adapt. And Matt's saying he's been there. Absolutely. There's a certain point where the body begins to adapt. And there's a reason, too, why the Pittsburgh Steelers come out looking ready to go every year. And this is just half the problem, where I just don't think a lot of things make a lot of sense. I love Justin Fields. I don't know what the kid has done to earn a training camp mostly off, where you all of a sudden think he doesn't need to play. Or, you know what, we're just going to offer up screens. And I mean, God, it felt like the preseason of screens, which I know we all love screens. We haven't had them in Chicago, but I'd like to see some semblance of an offense.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a Matt Canada. Matt Canada is the Steelers' offensive coordinator. He's probably one of my least favorite offensive coordinators. But I at least get to see – I mean, you want a drastic example. I don't expect Bears fans to go watch Steelers football. But Kenny Pickett put on a show this preseason. And it wasn't because I thought that they were doing anything extraordinary with their offense, but this is what KB's talking about. This is what I'm trying to talk about, is you can look across the NFL and see teams that look properly prepared. And that is an issue when you talk about this is the hits philosophy coach and he's an adult in the room and he's going to hold this team accountable and they're going to have their stuff going in the right way and all the I's are going to be dotted and their T's are going to be crossed. I don't think you see that with this team presently, and that's a problem. I mean, this is Mr. Hits, right? And we've got Tyreek Stevenson, who I love, and he looks undisciplined. He's missing interceptions. He's getting penalties. You've got your head on straight, but you're playing players out of position with Pickens and Dexter for like some little experiment. I mean, there's 100 areas I could go, but to me, it's problematic. And I'll touch briefly on the injuries because I think that's a very easy one to fall under the trap of. Let me start with my philosophy. I think the injuries, I'd say about 85% of injuries are just bad luck. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. So is there a certain percentage of that's just happening with the Bears? Absolutely. It happens to a lot of teams. Some years you're healthier than not. But I also can't help but look at a lot of the injuries, and I think the other 15% of the equation is players and staff. Players, it's your diet, it's your working out, it's how you're taking care of your body. staff. It's making sure that you're not pushing people too hard. You're making sure that they're recovering. Your trainers are keeping an eye on them, measuring their workload. And when you look at what's going on in the Bears, you've got muscle injuries. You've got not tears, because tears are just things that, you've overexerted and things happen. You've got strains. You've got pulls. I understand you break a bone, you break a hand, those things, guess what? That's luck. But when you're pulling muscles and you're straining muscles, whether it be strained calves from Tevin, or you've got Claypool who can't run full speed, or something's going on with Valus or Eddie Jackson or Jaquan Brisker or Tremaine Edmonds. I know Edmonds is back yesterday, looked rusty. But that to me says that something is going on with your training staff, with your practice schedule. When everybody has muscle issues, and I know we have a couple where Kramer's hand looked bad. I don't know what's going on with Patrick. I mean, and who knows? Maybe it's you may have some that are concussion related, but that's the thing too. And not that I know everybody says, well, the Bears don't owe you anything, but it's a little ridiculous too when you play it so close to the vest that you have players out and nobody knows what's going on because you won't talk to a reporter, you won't say anything.
Right.
So it's just, and I get it, he doesn't owe us anything, but this is
that just leads to speculation, though. All that's going to do is it leads to the Chicago media we've been down. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, look at our win-loss total in the last, 10, 15 years. And it's not good. We haven't been to the Super Bowl since Peyton Manning was playing for the Colts, So,
and this is the last thing I see. I'll be real quick about this. We heard Ryan Poles yesterday. They asked him, and I mean, good job on Jim Miller, whoever it was, asking him, what's the situation? Are you hoping to get the whole offensive line together to play in front of your quarterback? And wouldn't that be something interesting? And I just couldn't help but sit there, and I almost I was the whole Arthur meme where he's clenching his fists, just because I'm sitting here going, if you weren't trying to hold out certain players from playing, maybe you wouldn't have missed the train before it left the station. I mean, yeah, Nate Davis would have probably not been there at the time, and that's its own issue.
That's
but
there was question mark at the very least. I mean, to bring this guy in and he doesn't like to practice, what kind of offensive guard? You're supposed to love contact. You want contact. They live for pad days. And he's just, if that's the issue, then that's an issue with signing that guy for $20 million a year to come in and shore up your offensive line. And we haven't seen him, and they won't tell us anything.
No, and I like Nate Davis, but I mean, here's my point too: is there was a time when Braxton was out there, Cody was at guard. Tevin was at guard, Cody was at center, and then you had, I guess, Nate Davis would have been out, Ja'Tyre Carter would have been there, but then you would have had Darnell Wright too at right tackle, and you would have had some meaningful reps available.
Right.
And then you decided that Justin Fields was already a made man and established, and the starting offense was already good enough that you didn't need to play them. And now we're going into week 1, and yes, there's 2 weeks. We'll see who heals up. But by all accounts, there's no way in hell that you're going to have the desired starting 5 available to protect your real offense and your real quarterback for an extended period of time. And I couldn't help but get frustrated hearing Ryan Poles go, yeah, I mean, we're going to try our best, and we're working towards it. And I'm going, you missed the boat, my man. Like, this whole coaching staff missed the boat. You had opportunities to see and get something going. Even if you played them early and you still ended up here where they were all hurt, at least you'd know what you had. And you can tell me all day and night that practice matters and they had tons of practice reps. Yes, it would matter if you were in Latrobe with the Pittsburgh Steelers where you were hitting people. But in Hallis Hall in Lake Forest, Illinois, when we're doing training camp, how much work are you really getting against that super vanilla zone defense, cover 2 that Alan Williams and Flus love to run, and you're sitting there not getting much contact? Like, I don't know. It's one of those things that Caesar earlier had said, like, can you guys just relax, follow Aaron Rodgers? And I don't think I'm not saying that the world's going to come crashing down, but I also don't think it's fair to just say, oh, just treat preseason like it's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
If you're playing games, there's something to glean from it.
I mean, my sort of personal feeling about it is I think the the injuries have made a big difference to what they could do through the preseason. Because obviously, and also as well, because the offensive line, the whole unit's nearly been wiped out. You couldn't, you're not going to have certain players, or maybe you couldn't run certain players when you try out pre-season. So I think that the suit would be like a bit in shock on the offensive side, really, because of all the losses they've had with injury. It seems to me. It seems to like took the air out of the balloon a bit, because like I mentioned earlier on, we've got all these new weapons for Justin Fields, and if we could just get an offensive line what could hold it together, even at a moderate standard, that has to be the best in the country, in the league. Right. Sorry, but we've got that now, and I feel like that sort of made a lot of difference in the sort of. I mean, I agree with you, Joe, that I did feel, especially last week's game against the Colts, that just felt so disjointed and sort of like what were the idea behind what they wanted to get out of that game? Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like them injuries to the offensive lines really hit the offense in the mouth a bit, especially with it coming so close to this game.
Yeah, and we'll get into this a little more in 2 weeks, but my co-host on the 12-ounce Crow Route podcast, Kyle Busch, says, will the Packers continue to own the Bears with Rodgers in New York? I had higher hopes in the offseason than I have had since actually seeing them play this preseason. I haven't seen anything other than like week 1 when we took some screens to the house. Like that was the most excited I've been as a Bears fan this entire offseason. And he's being sarcastic here, obviously. He's a Packers fan and he's my co-host on a different show, and you can find it on the Daily Football Roundup every Wednesday. But and again, we'll talk about it more in 2 weeks, but it's definitely going to be a question. Are we going to be ready for the Packers in 2 weeks? And like I said earlier, they're not.
Adam Stenavich is going to run the ball down this defense's throat. And I mean, you let your cousin know, KB, that I'm not even like trying to poke at him. I'm just saying I'm challenging the Bear. Like, they're going to run it down your throat, and it's going to be incumbent on people like Andrew Billings and Justin Jones and Javon Dexter. And I know, don't get me wrong, they're going to try to take a couple shots at Tyreek Stevenson to Christian Watson. But for the most part, I think Adam Stenavich, as the new offensive coordinator for the Packers, is going to try to test the spine of this defense. And they're going to try to run on it. And everybody's like, okay, cool. What? No, it's not cool, because the reality is everything that you've seen from the starters, and it's only been a few drives, and this is, again, the issue. Mm-hmm. Somehow you think you have made men all over this roster. Right. Like you're just the worst team in the league. You've had 3 drives of the starting defense, and every time they've been able to run the ball. You had Tyjae Spears setting up the defense. You had yesterday, you had James Cook and Josh Allen running all over the yard. Like they had to pull them after 7 plays because it just looked like, holy shit, this doesn't look good. So I'm not telling you that the Green Bay Packers are just going to run and steamroll the Bears, but I'm telling you, I think if people think that the Bears just are going to all of a sudden beat them because number 12 isn't there, I think that you're mistaken.
Right. Yeah, and 4,000 Clover says watch Jordan Love play. I don't think it comes down to Jordan Love. I think it comes down to the two-headed monster they have in the backfield. They got 2 young receivers who are both really good. And as I said earlier, they've invested a ton of early draft picks in their defense. You got Jair Alexander, who L's down. I hate Louisville, so fuck you, Jair Alexander. But he's one of the best corners in the league. You got Quay, who was it? Quay Walker, I believe, that they got from the Georgia defense. I liked him a lot in college. They Rashad Gary, who's looking for another contract, so he's going to be trying to play out of his mind this year. I mean, the offensive line is our issue, man. That's the big thing. And if we don't get it shored up in 2 weeks, I don't think it'll be ugly like the Trestman era ugly, because Justin Fields has been able to make chicken salad out of chicken shit before, but it's not going to be pretty. I know that. I mean, we're going to have to, and in a screen game, when you got a great corner, they're there. Like we saw it with Tyreek Stevenson. He plays very aggressive, and I like to see that. But sometimes that aggression, and that's something else we should talk about. I like Tyreek Stevenson. I like what I've seen out of him. But if he's getting flagged already in the preseason as a rookie, he's going to build a reputation in the league of this is a guy to watch for after plays. Keep your eyes on him. Listen to what he's saying. And that
you can't give up 15 yards because this guy wants to talk and hit after the play and knock people out of bounds. I like your aggression. When they throw a screen and you break through that block and make that tackle, that's fantastic. But when you're knocking people out of bounds and you're being grabby on the line, and you're going to get flagged in this league. This is an offensive league. They skew all the rules toward the offensive side of the ball.
Unless it's the Bears.
Already, what's that, KB?
I said unless it's the Bears, and then we don't get defensive interference and shit on pass calls. So it is what it is.
I'm only laughing because my brain is weird, fellas. Like I'm sitting here thinking back to there's a couple corners like Sauce, JC Horn. JC Horn was the one that got a lot of shit coming out of the draft where they were like, he's just going to be a walking flag. Like, no matter what JC Horn does, he's just going to be grabbing everything and all the flags are going to come out. And I actually don't think we've seen that from JC Horn. He's been a good player. And as much as I'd love to give that same, this is the unfortunate part, I'd love to give that same benefit. Like, oh, no, Tyreek Stevenson, they'll let him really play when the season comes and it'll be fine. It's not the same. No, he's over here yanking on shirts, and it's just I'm actually not killing the kid. Like, as much as it's not been great, I wouldn't like at all call him the worst player of the preseason or he looks like a disaster or anything like that. It's just he looks like he's a rookie and he's going to have growing pains. But unfortunately, he's going to have growing pains that are just like daggers in the heart every time, where you can't have you decided to get greedy and go up for the ball, and it flies past your hand for a touchdown. And it's a learning experience. I'm glad you're a rookie and we're learning that. And nobody's talking about Super Bowl this year. That's not what I'm saying. It's not like we need Tyreek Stevenson to be an all-star because we need to win the Super Bowl. But it does just hurt when you're like, man, how many you don't let the ball go through your hands on the interception? Like I said last week, I was happy he was there. He's just got to figure that out. Okay, cool. So, but you still let up a touchdown, and we got to close that. Now he got an interception this week. But it comes with, as good as the interception is, and that's important, I also watched you directly give up a touchdown that you otherwise could have stopped if you kept running and put yourself in better position to go for a swat and not some one-handed, I batted it up and I was able to, it's just, I don't know. It's tough. It's not fun. But I mean, and we can talk about this as long as you want, because like I said, I have plenty of negative energy to spew about the team. But Tyson Bagent, can we talk a little Tyson Bagent?
Of course.
Yes.
Because he was honestly the best thing about yesterday.
I was gonna say it was him, and then anytime you see Roshan, those were my highlight moments of the day. Him and Roshan.
I saw his running touchdown. So he's got 2 rushing touchdowns in 2 weeks.
He should have had a passing one.
Yeah.
Fuck that sense.
I saw an interception on his box score. Was the and someone was talking about Carlson dropping a dime.
My god! So
what happened on the interception though? Because like I said, I haven't seen. I just looked at the box score and highlights. Because thank you NFL Network for fucking everybody who doesn't live in the Chicagoland area.
Oh no, it fucked me too, because me living in Indiana in Elkhart, they still said that the Bears Buffalo game was out of market. So.
Hey, boys, I managed to watch it. I live 5,000 miles away. What you're about?
But
AC buckle up, KB will fill you in. But it was a wild experience watching Bagent yesterday, and in a good, entertaining way.
It was. This was in a 3-game. This was in a 3-play span. Okay, you have a big play. The big play was what the touchdown should have been, right? Beautiful ball, drops back. Has Carlson wide open down the seam. Wide open.
Was it a deep ball or
it was at least 40 yards?
It would have been, I mean, and I didn't have the all 22, obviously, but it looked like a 4 verticals concept.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I don't think the other side of the field had 2 deeps. So call it like even a half verticals where you just had 2 players basically going on 9 routes. And they had what looked like single high on the field. So you had the safety having to pick which one. And he ended up going over to the corner. So he had Carlson that beat the safety on the seam. And actually, I don't really have much to say. It wasn't like a bad ball. It was a little more ahead of Carlson than probably what it could have been. You probably could have just put it on him. But hold on. It was still catchable.
He
Carlson
caught it.
Yeah.
So like he throws it, and it's a nice. It's not like the longest throw, AC, but it's like 30, 40-ish yards.
It's like 30 or 40 yards, man.
And
well, I know someone on Twitter put up every passing play that that Bagent did yesterday, so I'll have to go back and look at that after this because I'm sure it was on there.
So basically, he throws the 40-yard ball, and Carlson tracks it well, but he has to extend out and dive for it. And like I said, it probably didn't need to be that hard, but here's why I've given Bagent the credit and not Carlson. Because Carlson does pull it in. It's there.
He pulls it in.
And as he comes down to the ground, it just kind of bobbles out the bottom. And I'm like, come on, man.
It would have been beautiful. I want to say that there was a play after that, too.
And KB, was it the next play was the interception, or was it two after that?
It was.
I think it was two. Was it after?
Yeah, straight after his next pass.
Okay, so I don't know why I thought it was a play in between that. The interception, I'm not putting on Bagent. Okay, this is why there were the wide receiver was supposed to run some kind of underneath slant route. It looked like, or some type of drag, and instead of going underneath the DB, he went over top. Bagent was throwing to a spot, so when he let it go and the wide receiver wasn't there, it went directly to the DB, and it's just like. That's Chicago.
DB's like, thank you.
That's pretty much how it went, bro. And in the presser, he's explaining. They're like, yo, what kind of happened on that?
Oh, yeah.
He kind of says it without saying it. Like, yeah, I was going to this spot. This happened. And he kind of got over the top. And then the DB was just there to make a play. The wide receiver was supposed to go underneath that. If he would have cut it short and just cut it in front of the DB, he would have caught it. And, I mean, it would have been a catch. But, yeah, instead it's an interception. But this literally happened like boom, boom, bro. And it's like, bro, this is Chicago shit, bro. It's a big play that's either made or not made that's followed by a fucking mistake.
Yeah.
And it's always been like that, bro. But
yeah, PZ said the Carlson drop was a 14-point swing. So
it was. I'll say this about Bagent. And it's things that I see about Bagent that I really, really like. The one thing is the poise in the pocket. Those 2,000 passing attempts really helped that kid. Okay.
Yeah.
He has no fear in the pocket. When I say he has no fear, his pocket, like him staying in the pocket, might be better than Fields.
No, it's not. It's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe
it is. Okay. It is. Let me stop. It is.
It's
Instead of him always looking to bail and make a play, you see him consistently climbing the pocket. Even if he takes a sack, but he climbs that pocket. And his accuracy, compared to what we seen Fields do, Bagent has him beat too.
So KB, you saying that he should start over Fields?
No. not at all. Not at all. I'm just saying what I've seen. This is why I'm saying Bagent is my number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you do want the experience of a game, in-game quarterback like a Walker, but it's just things that pop out about Bagent that I don't care if you cut him and he went unclaimed. Me personally, there is no cutting him. He's number 2. To have the pocket presence that he has, the awareness, like Jordan says, the way he navigates the pocket, it's like I said, he is stepping up. And you can see it. It's so textbook. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. The definition of quarterback climb a pocket is Bagent. You see what's my man Dak Prescott that does the weird little. It looks like that, bro. Him climbing pocket. You see him throw that hip up, and then he's delivering, or you can take off. But it's those pieces. And it's like the same thing we said about last week. You just want a young player in here that you can groom. He's here.
Yeah.
But he's here and he looks better than what your backup, the guy that you paid to be the backup to be. And then he has the glimpses of things that he's even better at than Fields is. And that's not a knock at Fields, but you see the experience of I've been doing this since I was fucking 3 or 6 or whatever the fuck he said in his presser. the kid. Exactly.
No, that's exactly what it is. And KB, I'm gonna let you go, but like I'm gonna really like.
That's exactly what it is.
Pull out these sentiments.
It's not always about being the most talented, because if it was about being the most talented, Trey Lance wouldn't have been traded to Dallas.
Yeah.
It's about the people who have crafted. That's how you get a Tom Brady. Tom Brady was never the most talented. Tom Brady was never the biggest arm. Tom Brady just exactly he just put in the work. And I'm not saying Bagent is going to be Tom Brady by any means. People, don't say that. Don't do that. What I'm saying is, you see, like Teron is saying, you see the confidence. He's played this position, and it's fucking evident.
Yeah.
If I'm a wood shop crafter, and I'm not the best wood shop crafter in the world, or whatever the fuck the case may be, but you put me out into a shop and you said we need this made, and then you see it starting to get made. It might not be as fast, it might not be as beautiful as the best people in the world, but it's getting done. And you're like, okay, that's somebody that knows how to do his job. That's Bagent. So to me, the kid, it's always on, it's steady. It's always him moving downfield. Yes, he took a couple sacks. Yeah, there's a couple drop passes. Yeah, there's going to be things you don't necessarily like, and there's going to be mistakes. But you see somebody that does his job, and it just always looked like he's moving the offense down the field. And to me, that's all you can ask for, because you can get better from that. So Tyson Bagent, to me, like I said, number 2 quarterback. There's no way in hell I'm cutting the kid. There's not even so he can be stolen. I'm just saying I wouldn't personally cut the kid. He would be my number 2.
Well, it seems like what he's shown in this preseason, if you do cut him, he's not making your practice squad. If a Pittsburgh calls him, that was his backyard. You know, he's from West Virginia. That's why he went to Shepherd. CHGO had his college coach on this last week, and obviously his college coach is going to wax poetically about him because, you know, he recruited him, he brought him in, he started him as a freshman. He went to church with the guy before he started him in college. So it's a kid that he really grew up with, but he said that the way he prepares is like a Drew Brees. The way he prepares each week, each day of practice, he had the ability to go D1 after his junior year when the transfer portal opens up, and you don't have to wait anymore. You can go somewhere and start right away. He could have. He chose to stay, which shows his loyalty. And I love the way I hear about the way he prepares, the way he plays, the way he does all the little things that you need your quarterback to do. And yes, I know PJ Walker has a lot more experience in this league, and he's seen a whole lot more. And obviously, he's seen a lot more defense because Bagent's only seen the vanilla preseason defense thus far. But you can learn those kind of things in the tape room, especially if you believe in your coaching staff. And if there's anyone on this coaching staff I believe in, it's our offensive coordinator. And he saw him in the Senior Bowl. So that was the reason why they made him a priority free agent. I don't know if you let this guy go and try and pull him onto your practice squad. I don't think he's making it.
Like I said, I'm not saying that he would be picked up, because I know we get into that too much as Bears fans. Oh my God, I can't believe we cut this guy. He's going to be claimed and he's not. It's the attention to detail from the kid, and like you said, there was a question asked to him that it was kind of like, okay, is anybody kind of shocked that you're doing what you're doing? And he looks at him, he's like, I mean, people that don't know me, you know, he was like, my family, my coaches, they see me playing. This is like, okay, yeah, he's been doing this shit for years. But he's like, there are times at camp that people kind of look at him after he made a big throw, he moved the chains, and it's like, oh, good job. Like, you that was good. And he just sitting there like, I mean, I've been doing this. So it's like I said, it's an encompassing thing with his confidence and the fact that he's seen a lot of defenses and he's seen a lot of formations, because he's had the throws, he's had the time to grow. Like I said, I would not cut him just based off of what he's done. It's not about him being picked up. It's just he's proven that he belongs here. And when you're sitting there, you're playing him more than you're playing PJ Walker. You're playing him more than you're playing Peterman. That tells me all I need to know. He's proven that he should be your backup at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, mate. I mean, the thing with me, like through this last week, I was like a little bit on the fence about the guy, just due to we've only had a small sample size and he's from a small school or whatever. But I just think he's grown on me. Like every time I see him, he's grown on me. I like his technique. He's got great footwork. How he moves in the pocket, like KB said, he's just spot on. He's got a good awareness. He always seems to be in control. And I like how he gets rid of the ball as well. I just think he's a really solid player, and I think one of the things what sort of changed my mind. So yeah, we should keep this guy in the squad. Is I saw the same presser what KB were mentioning, and just how he came over, how he was just sort of breaking down plays, and he just came over sort of confident, but not like a cocky confident, and he just looked like he knew. He basically was saying, "I know I've always had the talent." But now I'm just shocking people because, people that don't know me, they haven't seen me from when I played in college. So, yeah, I think we should definitely keep him now.
Jordan, please inform us. I've been waiting patiently.
I love the kid. And it's so many different parts to pick when you're talking about Tyson Bagent. And I'm not even going to – I'll call the guy out. But, somebody was over here saying some shit like – shut up, you guys are ridiculous. Stop it. Fields' pocket awareness is better than Bagent. Let me talk about what I'm talking about, because it's one of the worst things about us Chicago fans is you can't even say that Justin Fields had he looked at somebody the wrong way. You're the devil if you say that. So Justin Fields is the more enticing quarterback, the more enticing prospect. This is not some and I'm even going to veer a little bit from KB. I think that you just keep three quarterbacks on the roster.
Yeah.
Because my biggest thing is I cannot allow Tyson Bagent to be the second pair of eyes for Justin Fields. It just
facts.
It's because what did you see on that, Tyson? I don't know, man. I came from D2 and I haven't played this league. What am I can't do that. So I have to have PJ Walker, and I'd probably even make PJ my 2 before, and then let PJ lose the job. He'll lose the job. Hopefully he doesn't ever have to play. But if Fields were to get hurt and PJ Walker doesn't come in and play well for a game or 2, if Fields were out that long, that's when I can say, okay, hopefully it's been 6, 8, 9, 10 games. Now I can say, okay, if you've had, most of a season to get some camp experience, now you can become number 2. But for me, I'm the whole, what's Fields better at? I'm not at all. He's not even in the conversation. Fields is your starter. You've invested the time, the effort, the money. Fields can do things that very few other quarterbacks in NFL history can do, particularly with the legs, the combination of the arm, just some of the ability. And Fields does escape from the pocket. There's no doubt about that. He's got that sweet little spin move where he kind of dips his hip one way before back spinning out and gets out to the edge. And he had one yesterday where he broke out to the edge and it looked good. So it's not that Fields is lost in the pocket, but what Fields is doing there is he's creating outside of the pocket. What Bagent is doing is he is maneuvering and navigating within the pocket, having awareness and presence to know where the rush is coming from. He feels confident enough to climb up the pocket, keep 2 hands on the ball for the most part. He's been sacked a few times, holds onto the ball. He's shown some ability to climb up and then take a sidestep before then exiting the pocket. There's a certain level of acumen that you're seeing, and I have to assume it's from the self-belief, the 2,000 snaps. The other thing too about the kid is the perspective is just so beautiful. They again, maybe he's putting on an act, but I really don't think so. Which is they ask him do you have any expectations for QB2 or whatever? And he's like, honestly, I feel pretty excited to just be playing for the Chicago Bears.
Right.
And you could tell that I always make the joke I got 1 foot in the grave, 1 in the banana peel. What are you going to do to me? I'm almost halfway there. That's kind of what Tyson feels like. It's almost I've made it. I shouldn't even be here. And so anything I do is just cherry. It's gravy on the top. It's cherry. So to me, I can't help but see the kid, and he's not even remotely the athlete that Justin Fields is.
Right.
But he gets out on the edge and he's beating defensive ends on these rollouts. He's showing the velocity to drive the ball on these over routes, because it's not like a lot of these flood concepts or your waggles, your bootlegs. You have like 3 levels coming across. Oftentimes you'll see them hit the fullback or the tight end on a little drag route. No, he's driving to the second level, which takes a little bit more from a quarterback. So the accuracy's there, the timing is there. Like these are, if we're talking about like what does he actively do better than Justin Fields right now, I think it's the pocket awareness, and a lot of this is just based on his experience in the game, but it also comes down to his. And this is never going to be Justin Fields' game. I'll say it now. I'll say it for the rest of his career. It's just the timing of playing quarterback on schedule, which is it's very much follow your footwork. Your feet are going to tell you when you need to go, when you need to throw, what read you need to be. So,
Don Burr, get out of my chat.
Oh.
Hendon Hooker, the best quarterback in the division in a year or two. Hendon Hooker played at Tennessee.
And
offense does not work in this league.
Yeah, Josh Heupel.
They put wide receivers standing on the sideline, so your entire defense is stretched out. He doesn't have to read a fucking thing except for his wide receiver that runs a fucking 4-2.
As soon as I seen it in the chat, I said, "Oh shit, AC finna go off."
Hey,
I've never seen his side of AC before.
But I'll give AC one thing.
That's Tennessee right there.
They have a 4-2 receiver, AC. They do have a 4-2 receiver. His name's Jameson Williams. But
they got him. I mean, as long as he ain't, the Detroit Gamblers up there, as long as he ain't up there, I think they got slot machines in the lobby.
Adeptus is really hitting the points here. Like he's saying, Bagent's quarterback play already possesses what we want Fields to develop. Like it's just he plays on time, he plays on schedule. He looks better playing, and he looks just in motion. Looks more like a quarterback operating an offense than Justin Fields does. And that's not to say Justin Fields looks lost or just miserable out there or like pitiful. But I mean, even yesterday when Justin Fields was taking snaps back, I mean, it felt very much like it's Adeptus put it like a tick slower. Like it's almost like, okay, now I'm here, and then now I'm here, and okay, and then now I'm like here's 2 for an example. As much as we love the DJ Moore catch, he's catching it and having to drop down on a knee to get the ball. And then he's making magic after. And I actually don't think that the pass to Kmet, which was early in the game, AC, I don't know, maybe you'll find it somewhere. It was actually, it's not good placement, but it made sense to drop it a little lower for Kmet so that he didn't get decapitated he was between 2 defenders. But it also felt like, okay, fine. Put it low, but put it low like a half a second, just a little tick quicker, so that he isn't trying to bend over and grab it from the floor. And it's like I said, these are not it's not an emergency. I'm not saying that Fields should be benched for these, but these are things that you aren't really seeing happen when you're watching Tyson Bagent play.
Well, I know there's people in the chat talking about the backup quarterback is always popular in Chicago, this and that. We're not saying that he should start over Fields. I love Fields. I have a Fields jersey. My son has a Fields jersey. My wife just got me a football signed by Justin Fields that'll be on this wall soon. So I love Justin Fields. He's my guy. He was my guy in the draft. So I'm definitely not saying that. But Tyson Bagent has shown you enough to be kept on this roster. Now, the question coming into cut days is you have injuries along the offensive line that you have to fix. Is it going to take away from special teams to keep a third quarterback on this roster? What are you losing to keep that third quarterback? I know they allow you to dress 3 now on Sundays with the new quarterback rule, but you still have to have the right amount of people on your roster, and what's it going to cost you? These will all be questions that are answered on. Is it this Tuesday or is it next Tuesday that's cut day? I think it's this Tuesday.
It's this Tuesday.
Yeah, so those questions will be answered by the time we come back in here to get ready for Packer Week. But it's definitely something that needs to be brought up. And KB, I see you wanting to say something.
Because this is going to tie into my Justin Fields thing, because it's not like Justin Fields can't get better at certain things. Now, and it's like I said when I first started talking about Bagent, when I said there are certain things that I feel that he does that are better than Fields. Like we say, it's the pocket awareness, it's the navigating the pocket. To me, his accuracy, like on pinpoint passes, seems to be a little bit better than what Fields is. That's not to say that my man can't be great, because we've seen a quarterback that has the exact same skill set as Fields become a passer. And I wish he like the Bears could really bring this man in and help him work. And that's Michael Vick. We all seen what the Michael Vick era of the fucking Falcons looked like. It was what we seen the Bears look like last year. Vick had a little bit more help than what Justin did. But you seen Vic literally was like, it's me against the world. I'm going to beat this team instead of my team beating this team. And then you see he has the time off. Then when he comes back as an Eagle, he's more refined as a passer. Passes are getting out on time. He's starting to trust his progressions, and he's trusting his old line and the team around him. That is what I wish we had with Fields right now. I wish that Vic could come in and help him with that. And if he could, then you would see Fields take the next step that we truly want to see right now. What people are screaming about seeing in the preseason. The thing that I have with the Bagent thing is, if Bagent had Fields' athleticism and size and all that shit, Bagent probably would have been a top 10 pick. Okay, that's something people need to understand. There's nothing wrong with having a backup that does something better than what your starter is doing, especially when you're trying to groom your starter to be that superstar player. Fields is still learning. Just because Bagent can do one or two things does not mean that he's the better overall quarterback, because we know damn well that's not true. Bagent can do those two things better. Fields can learn from those two things that he does better.
Yeah.
That being said, that's the symbiotic relationship of a quarterback room.
One of the big things about Vic, though, when he went to Philly, he had Andy Reid coaching him.
That's another thing.
We have Eberflus, a first-time head coach, a defensive head coach. That's starting to worry me. I don't know if we'll get into it today, but you look around the league and everyone has offensive minds as their head coach, and we have a defensive guy. The only other team to do that is the Bills, and it hasn't produced Super Bowls. I mean, I guess the Patriots, if you want to talk about the greatest possible coach of all time, Belichick's a defensive guy. But if Fields does well this year, we're going to lose Getsy to a head coaching job. So you're right back at square one. And the Bears have consistently put themselves in this position. They're running a defense that hasn't played well since we went to the Super Bowl in 2008.
Go ahead and ask Lovey how that worked out last year, huh? And actually, I love Lovey. I'm giving it a little bit of a hard time because, to be fair, Lovey and the Texans defense actually played decently well last year, and a lot of it had to do. I mean, this is just a small rant, please. Lovey and the Texans defense last year played a little bit better than expected, and a lot of that came from the Texans having a pretty exciting defensive front. They didn't have any all-star. That's why they drafted Will Anderson, but they had a couple older guys, Mario Addison, Jerry Hughes, Malik Collins, a few others that provided some pass rush. And that's always been, I mean, that's exactly what we've heard Eberflus and others talk about. That's really what you need in this defense to work, because you don't want to blitz. You want to win with 4. But then simultaneously, and this is coming from the GM and the coach that say they're buddy and they're connected like no other. And let me separate the two for just a second. I like the way that Poles decided to build the defense, but it just doesn't make sense with the coach. You need to win with 4, but you've simultaneously decided to build from the back end, the secondary, and then work on the front later. That doesn't really make sense. And I know that everybody's going to say, but he just spent 2 a second and a third on 2 defensive linemen, but he's also
brought in Yannick Ngakoue.
And he's trying to patch it with free agents and, sprinkle little one deals on Rasheem Green and, seeing what Travis can do. And let's bring in Terrell Lewis and a few others, which is fine, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense with the defense that you're trying to run. And traditionally you would build it from the front, and then you'd have, and like I said, it's okay, but like when you think about the cover 2 defense, you want these tough corners that'll just jam you at the line, disrupt you, and then you have a great defensive front and 4 that can get home to the quarterback. By the time that jam is done and everybody's in their zone, the quarterback is either being pressured and throwing into his zone where the cornerbacks have the eyes on the quarterback the whole time, or he's on the ground being sacked because your receivers never got off the line in time.
Yeah.
And they've built some of that with the corners, but you've not seen it come with the front. And to your point, AC and KB, when you're talking about having a defensive coach, you're always going to lose the offensive mind. That is absolutely true, and that's a cost of it. And this is where it just feels like one step further in the wrong direction. And I put this on Twitter yesterday, but if you were going to hire a defensive coach, because that's just what you do, and we had an offensive guy, Matt Nagy, it didn't work, so we got to go defense. It's not even just the Bears, it's a league thing. But even if you decided you had to go get a defensive coach, could you have gone and got one that wasn't just a retread of you trying to go back to the glory days with Lovie Smith and the 2000 Bears and realizing that game is left in the past 20 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And what I had said is, because I don't expect anybody to watch Vikings football.
Brian Flores.
I
knew where you were going when you started.
Brian Flores lit the Cardinals on fire yesterday.
Brian Flores took a team that was trying to tank in Miami and won ball games. Like they were objectively trying to get the number 1 overall pick, tanking for Tua.
AC, that is a coach, a defensive coach, that he would lose offensive coordinators too. So it doesn't fix the problem. But he at least runs a revolutionary defense that, to KB's point, I'm tired of seeing all this lazy-ass zone. They play man. They ask a lot out of their corners. Oh, wait, you're investing all this money and investment into corners. It would make sense to play that type of defense if you're going to build it from the back to the front. And it's fine that things happen. It's already done. It is what it is. But it does just feel like, I don't know. I hope you guys put this on replay, cut it up.
I hope I'm wrong too.
Yeah,
pull a clip.
Pull a clip. But I just don't think that this is going to go very well. I just don't. And I know we saw it in with the Colts once he got it all built, but like I'm also tired of hearing people say we're just like in year 2 out of a 3-year rebuild, but the league doesn't move that slow anymore. You aren't really given that much time. It's actually one of my least favorite things in the NFL right now is that we're now even got to the point where quarterbacks are microwaved. If you draft a quarterback, he's got to be ready in 3 years. It's Zach Wilson. They put all the pieces around him. It's Trey Lance. You got to be ready to go right now. But that's what the league is. I mean, I watched Joe Burrow be the number 1 pick, and in his second year, they ended up going to a Super Bowl. And I'm not.
If he wasn't hurt, who knows how far they would win.
And I'm not saying that that's what has to happen. But because the story last year was the Bears have all this salary cap. They're wiping all the debt away. Mm-hmm. They're going to go hard next year. They have the number 1 pick. They got all this money. Okay. And they haven't this is what I love about Ryan Poles. They haven't put themselves in a bad spot.
Right.
But you also, fortune favors the bold. And I don't necessarily know what the Bears have done bold when they've spent some money. They sprinkled a little money here. They paid a linebacker top 4 money off the ball. You have this old archaic defense. You're not building the defensive line well. Your offensive line is, I don't want to say in shambles, but it still feels
it's in shambles.
It's in shambles, but
who's playing center? Dieter Iceland, who's been on the practice squad the last 3-4 years. Who's playing guard? Tevin's in a walking boot. You got a 1-armed Whitehair. You got Leatherwood, who was released by the Raiders. And the other guard doesn't want to practice. So you got Ja'Tyre Carter, who's played well. He's held his own out there. Your right tackle, who I believe in, has ankle issues now. Like, we're in shambles. And we'll see. All they keep telling us is they'll be ready for week 1. That's all we hear. Like,
what is going on here? You want to know if you've got the quarterback or not, but if you don't have the protection, there's no way to know if you've got him or not. You could have Joe Montana or Tom Brady or whoever your GOAT is at quarterback. You could have had him last year behind that offensive line, and we would have won 2 or 3 games. Justin Fields won games by himself last year. Justin Fields tried to win more ball games than that. We were like leading the league in scoring for like a whole month, and we lost every one of the games. Like, and you got a defensive coach, but you can't play defense.
They're going to tell you it's because they had JV talent on the defense, and we'll see if that changes this year. But it's the tough part about trying to build it too with rookies. And I mean, we don't have to spin the clock around back to Chris Jones, but like that's kind of the issue. Is I'm asking Andrew Billings and Justin Jones to be the spine of the defense, but I also and it's not a problem, but if Andrew Billings or Justin Jones don't hold up, it's not like Tremaine Edmonds. His biggest problem is that if a blocker gets attached, it's over. It's game over. And TJ Edwards is a good story from Philly that we're hoping turns into something. And then on the outside, you've got Jalen Johnson, who's a great player. I think he should be resigned. But Tyreek Stevenson's going to go through some growing pains. Hopefully, Kyler Gordon looks like a good nickel this year. Eddie Jackson's a year older. Is he still going to be as good? He's coming off the leg. We'll see. And Jaquan Brisker hasn't played in over a month and has had a history of concussion. So, I mean, it's tough. And like I said, I don't mean to make this I'll get off of it. I know it's a gray, gloomy day on Bears land, but it's one of those things that for a whole training camp in 3 weeks of preseason, I don't feel like we got a lot from it, if that makes sense. Like it didn't. I mean, it was the best way I put it is this. You know, when you're hungry and you have snack food and they're like, well, have some real food because that's like empty calories. You need to get some real sustenance. What I feel like
maybe some bugles or something.
Yeah. Like what I feel
hey man, chill out, bro. Chill out, bro.
What I feel like the Chicago Bears offseason has been is like bites of non-sustenance. Like just here's a little snack and it's DJ Moore's screen pass for a touchdown and we got the #1 pick and we traded it back and we finessed the Eagles for a 4th round pick because they took Jalen Carter and we took a tackle. The tackle's not even playing.
I didn't want Jalen Carter, so
I know, but it's these funny things like, okay, but where does it come together? Right. And I get somebody in the chat earlier was like, you got to wait till like 3 or 4 weeks in. And you do. But what I don't like is this pass being given. Like, it's okay. It's all fine. I'm like, it's not, though. The quarterback hasn't played exceptionally well in preseason. He didn't get a lot of opportunities. The offensive line doesn't look healthy. The defense is missing quite a few players. And we're hoping – you keep telling me, like, it's week 1, everybody will be healthy. But we all know how it goes. You don't just show up to the job one day after not doing it and you're playing exceptionally well. You have to have reps on it. You have to have experience. You have to get into a groove. And so you're going to tell me that the O-line is going to be together week 1 and the secondary is going to be together week 1. I'll wait and see, but you're not going to call me shocked. It doesn't come the way together it should.
Well, I mean, I think Darnell Wright will be ready week 1, but he hasn't played a ton of snaps when they did play him. And he's a rookie who was playing next to a second-year player. Like, Nate Davis was supposed to come in and give him, like, okay, this is what you're going to see on this. This is what you're going to see on that. And I don't know if Nate Davis has been in their meeting rooms. I'm assuming he has. But it's different than being on the field with each other, standing next to each other. Your livelihood is directly connected to theirs. You know? I mean, and I hate to be coming in here and being doom and gloom. We're getting ready for regular season.
It's not, man. We just talking about what we see.
Point on there for a reason, and then I come in here and I'm in a bad mood. I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're not. And I'll let Chris talk. But to what KB says is I don't even know if it's doom and gloom because, like I said, we spread some positivity on Bagent and DJ Moore and things of that sort. But at a certain point, you do have to call it as you see it. And like I mean, here if you want to try to do a different method, and I'll start with Chris. But like, what is the most positive thing that you saw over the last 4 months? And like, give it to the chat, because if this is my whole point, I think we're trying to do what we've seen. And if you don't think that that's true, tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what I should be like uber excited for.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's so difficult in the off season when it's training camp, because you have that thing of how well has the player been doing in training camp, which we don't see, and then when the top sort of first team players get so little reps in a game situation, it's so hard sometimes to sort of scout it. But I was like really positive until all these injuries started happening over the last sort of 3 months, over the last sort of 2 months sort of thing. I was really sort of confident about the Green Bay game, but just that offensive line and just how Justin looked, really. He just looked, I don't know, compared to Bagent just looks like he was control. Justin just looked like everything just looked a bit fast for him. I don't know why. And but it's just the injuries what have really sort of spoiled the start of the season for me a bit, thinking what we could do. But I mean, you got to remember that we only won 3 games last year. So I mean, I'm thinking that hopefully we get to maybe 8 or 9. And if we win 9 games, that's like triple the performance what we did last year. So I think, if we can sort of sneak into the playoffs or whatever, maybe. But, it's still is it a rebuild? I don't know anymore. It's still a part of the rebuild anyway.
Well, what's the biggest off-season thing for you, KB?
If we just saying off-season, the biggest off-season thing
since the end of the season till today.
Honestly, it has to be the trade for Moore. That to me, that is the biggest thing. He was what you needed. Well, he was one of the pieces that you needed, because we needed a wide receiver, we needed an edge rusher, we needed a Russian D tackle. We needed a middle linebacker. So there was a lot of things that we needed. It was nice that we were actually able to fix a position. You get somebody who's a solid one. To me, he's in the top, 12 wide receivers in the league. That to me, that can't be argued. If you want to say it's an argument for 10, whatever, dog, I'm not even trying to get into it. He was what you needed, and you got him. You needed the right tackle. You got a tackle. But the biggest thing so far has been the acquisition of Moore and what his potential impact would be on Justin Fields' development. To me, that's the biggest thing that's happened this offseason.
You just take the low-hanging fruit, man. I teed it up for you, and you knocked it out of the park. You just say, "Oh, you gonna leave it to me? I'm gonna take DJ Moore." Then.
Hey, man, look, I know he was like, man, he got all the kids over there talking. We gonna get him the easy one so he can say what he got to say and shut the fuck
up. KB's at a daycare center. I don't know if y'all know. Chris, I loved what you said about. I mean, I was high hopes until the injuries started hitting, and like I said, I got tired of looking at my phone last week. And every time I looked at it, it was another bear going down. And all they'll tell us is they'll be ready for week 1. Lord, I hope so. I mean, I really hope so. Man, what's the biggest thing of this offseason? I mean, it's got to be DJ Moore. I loved our draft pick. I'll get on that for a little bit. A lot of people were upset that we traded out. We didn't take Jalen Carter. We took an offensive tackle. Look, we needed an offensive tackle. Everyone knew it. Look how Justin Fields ran for 1,100 yards last year because he had to. The guy had no one around him. Now, we brought in DJ Moore to help with that. We drafted an offensive tackle to also help with that. We passed on Jalen Carter, who comes with a lot of red flags. And I've said it on here many times. I watched Jalen Carter come down here to Lexington and put up one solo tackle, like against a rebuilt offensive line with Will Levis, who loves to hold the ball too long, waiting for something big. I expected Aaron Donald. I expected Chris Jones. I expected a dominant defensive tackle, the way people were talking about Jalen Carter, saying he was the best prospect in the draft. People were saying that. Like, they said Bijan Robinson was probably the cleanest prospect in the draft, but they said Jalen Carter was number 1 on their draft board.
with everything with it. Like, I expect a dominant performance every week from him then, and I didn't see it here in Lexington. He looked dominant in the SEC championship, but he didn't look great against Ohio State. He probably looked great against TCU, but, I mean, TCU scored a touchdown on him, I think, maybe, if I remember the score correctly. Like, Darnell Wright is the right pick. Darnell Wright is I put my Tennessee hatred aside on this draft pick. I hate that people pumpkin orange. All of them some snitches, some low down dirty bastards. I don't know if y'all have seen
it. Hey, they can't be low down dirty bastards and snitches.
No, they both. But I will take the right tackle. If there's something that you draft from Tennessee, offensive line, defensive line is a solid bet. Even in their down years, they had that. And this guy gave up 0 sacks last year. Now, granted, their offense is quick and quirky and all those things, but when you ask Will Anderson, who was the top pass rusher in the draft last year, who was the hardest guy you went against? He said Darnell Wright. Without skipping a beat, he said Darnell Wright. Like, I mean, where else are you going to go with your draft pick? I liked Paris Johnson a lot, but he's more of a left tackle to me. Jordan, you like DeJuan Jones a lot. That's your guy, and he's balling out in preseason. But I'm happy with our number 1 draft pick. I think he's checking all the boxes. I mean, the guy was working out and looked at the wrong paper. He was doing the wide receivers workout to get ready for the combine for offensive linemen. Like, that's athleticism. I couldn't do that. I remember when I was in high school, we called them jingle jangles, where we had to run up and down. I think it was 40 yards down and back. They had all the skill players go, and then they had the linemen go. My big ass was running with the linemen. I was not running with them backs because they had a different time for each. But, I mean, for an offensive lineman to be able to do that, kudos to him. I'm going to look through the chat on what other people are saying now.
Yeah, there's a few people talking about it. I saw like Bagent and Roshaw. There's been a few good moments, and I mean it's interesting. The right answer, let's be clear, is I think I'll call it is the DJ Moore thing, but I'll just call it in general. And it's not all been perfect, but it's much more off-season competence, if you want to call it that. Like, there wasn't some trade in this for a 7th round pick for N'Keal Harry this year. There wasn't like, we're going to sign Dante Pettis off the field to make him a starter. So it felt like there was more of a plan, and that should be the case when all of a sudden you have resources and money. But I also think, and I'm always going to be this salty guy, and I'm going to make a joke here, but I'm not serious. But it's one of those things where you said it, AC, like, you picked the right tackle, you just picked the wrong one. Because DeJuan Jones, I'm kidding in a way, because to be fair, I understand that DeJuan Jones would not fit this scheme, but it also just kind of comes back to like, and this is kind of the Dexter at 3 tech and Pickens at 1 tech is sometimes you just let a player play where they need to play and you leave scheme alone, and it's okay. I don't find that. The joke is that I'm rescinding my Bears fandom. I'm coming out as non-committal. I'm non-binary. I'm just rooting for every single NFL team. I like Brian Flores in the defense in Minnesota. I like what they're doing, with depth.
Jordan, come back to us, Jordan. Come, mate.
I mean, I see MMA tip here saying like I trash the front office and coaching staff so much, and I've already accumulated so much. I mean, I guess it's just.
I mean, if you're a Bears fan and you don't question,
it should be critical.
Are you really a Bears fan?
This is my whole thing, and this is why I joke like I'm leaving. I'm not leaving, but I am just at some point we have to be honest as fans and go, but when are we tired of mediocrity? When are we tired of like just another rebuild a year, just another quarterback reset? Come on. So and the last thing I see Adeptus here saying like, did I get a chance to evaluate Leatherwood or other IOL depth? I did. I like Leatherwood is an interesting case. He's actually probably been one of the ones I've been watching more in preseason. I like Leatherwood a lot. I do. He still looks messy, and it sounds like I'm about to crap on the guy. I think he has a spot. I think he should be on the team. I also think some of that is absolutely pedigree, and I don't mean to make it just because he was drafted in the first round. I didn't think he should have been a first-round pick. I thought he should have been somewhere in the late second, early third.
That was a John Gruden call.
Yeah, but I think that, to be fair, I don't think you'd find talent like him on the street. So when you have the ability, you've already claimed him, keep him on the roster. You need an interior offensive line, and he's looked a little messy with like slipping or falling, just having missed assignments, mental errors. But he's also had moments where even when he's slipping, the other guy's on the ground and he's not.
Yeah.
He finds a way to just put people on the ground, and it's messy. Like he's had some of the linemen basically at the foot of the quarterback, but he's pancaked them by that time, so they're not a threat. And you don't really want any defensive lineman near your quarterback, but he's looked okay. And I think he's fine at guard, and I'm never going to get this Adeptus. And I had a little spat with Greg Gabriel yesterday over it. But to me, like this isn't a perfect example, and I think this probably will cap how I feel about yesterday's preseason game. I actually like Kellen Diesch. Kellen Diesch was the tackle out of, I think he put it
Arizona.
So he was at
Arizona State.
So he was at Texas A&M. Then he went to Arizona State. He's a very light in the pants offensive tackle. He doesn't really have great arm length. They tried him at left tackle yesterday, and I'm cool with it. I like Kellen Diesch. Kellen Diesch was getting worked yesterday. And the whole time I'm going, Alex Leatherwood has 34.5-inch arms. He was playing for the college football's best program up until the last year and a half with Georgia coming into play. He was playing left tackle for the most well-known coach in college football, the most successful college football program of the last 20 years, playing a premium position there, and was winning awards for playing left tackle. And he's come into the NFL, and you've never let the kid play left tackle, ever. And I'm not telling you he needs to play left tackle to replace Braxton Jones, but what the whole point is that you just saw that Braxton Jones was out because they were trying to play who's after him, and they didn't have a good answer. And to the people that are saying, like, why you need to relax, it's just preseason, this is part of what I'm talking about is it's not that everything has to be in solid stone by the end of preseason. You're always going to have kinks to work out. But you would think that if you're not going to be playing the starters a lot, which we've talked about, I think they should have played them more, but fine, you didn't. Then I would start thinking that you'd have some of these answers really clearly ironed out behind those starters. And I'm in the third preseason game, and I'm watching a guy like Kellen Diesch get beat. And I'm just sitting there, and I've been on this track for a few weeks now, but I'm like, why is Alex Leatherwood not given a chance? And the only reason Greg Gabriel, resident, college scouting director for the Bears, resident scout here in the Barroom Network, was sitting there going, Alex Leatherwood will never have a chance at left tackle. He wouldn't make it. He's just not good enough. And I disagree because, like I said, he's come from all this program. But more importantly, what the tape is showing me with Alex Leatherwood is that you heard Tevin talk about this last year when he went to guard. He said it takes some getting used to because it's all very condensed. You're in a phone booth. There's a lot of things moving. I have to account for the box count more. Who's coming up for the blitz? On a tackle, I'm more on an island. And so I really just have to worry about the overhang defender or my defensive end. And I'm not telling you that Alex Leatherwood's going to be an all-star tackle. But what I am saying is he looks okay at guard. He obviously didn't look great on the right side. He's now back on the left side at guard. He looks better, but still has some issues. Why not just try? It's preseason. It doesn't matter. This is the time to put a guy like Alex Leatherwood out at left tackle. And he hasn't. And they won't. They must see something I don't. But Adeptus, I hope that answers your question. You're asking about, like, was there actual development from Chris Morgan? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not a huge, I think there's a lot of, Chris Morgan would not be on my top 5 offensive line coaches in the league. But to be fair, I do think that you've seen some development. You've seen Jatiri Carter come along, Braxton Jones. He had plenty of warts last year, but he looked good for what he was. Tevin Jenkins adapted to guard better than most. I don't know. I don't recall any spectacular reports coming out of training camp when Darnell Wright was healthy, but I imagine he'll be fine. So Chris Morgan's not my first problem in this Bears offensive coaching staff. I think he's fine.
Yeah, I like Leatherwood where he's at, honestly. I mean, I'm a big Braxton Jones fan, though. I think he's put on some muscle this offseason, hopefully to deal with the bull rush a little more.
But Leatherwood, you put him in a phone booth, like you said, Jordan, when you broke it down there. This guy was winning awards at Alabama, who was winning titles, who has arguably the best college coach since Bear Bryant, So, I mean, you kind of take that for what it's worth. And I think that's probably what John Gruden saw and why he decided to take a chance on him in the first round. I like him at guard. Honestly, I'd rather see him at guard. Well, I don't know. I'm fine with Whitehair. I just wish his hand was good. I was happy with him at center. The last time he played center, I don't know if he was an alternate, but he went to the Pro Bowl with Trubisky as his quarterback. So I don't know, but I mean, we've been on here for an hour and 40 minutes. I think it's about time we close this thing on out, and we'll come back. Packer Week, big America's Game of the Week breakdown. We're gonna take next week off, and then we'll come back for that. Unless y'all want to do a show with cuts, but I don't know
if we have anything significant or any significant claims.
If a trade
might
comes
see
through
us.
or something.
Yeah. But the plan as of right now is to come back in 2 weeks and talk Bears Packers.
Mhm.
KB, girl dad down there, I'll let you start us off and close us out so that you can go back to feeding your daughter.
I appreciate that because all the cuteness, she gonna start rubbing these cheesy fingers on me. It's gonna be a problem. First of all, like always, man, love you boys, man. Seen a lot of engagement in the chat. Seen a lot of things spoke on about other pods and shit like that. Hey man, look, I'm gonna tell y'all this. The one thing we will not do, I'm not gonna bash nobody else. I'm not ever gonna talk shit about nobody else's podcast. I'm never gonna talk shit about nobody's family. To me, it never gets personal. All right. That being said, I know my brothers on here echo that same sentiment. We talk football, and that's all we're about. After that, you know what I'm saying? I know we ain't necessarily. You happy you got the cheese ball? You clapping? Man, like I said, I'm not gonna say it's super family oriented because we do get dirty, but at the end of the day, we're all family men, and that's what we all put first. Lastly, what I'm gonna say, man, thank you to all the fans that tune in. Like I said, we're not paying nobody, we're not forcing anybody to get on here with us, and y'all get up every morning, y'all answer the bell, man. So we appreciate the hell out of y'all. Lastly, man, and I think I said lastly already, but I'm saying it again. Shout out to everybody in the bar room, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep putting out all this great content, man. I know you don't always catch it, but it is great content that is being passed out. It's great knowledge, whether it be baseball, basketball, or shit, just shooting the shit that you get. Don't point at them. Don't point at that bullshit on your hat. Don't do that.
Go.
But like I said, it's all love and it's all great content that's being put out. So we thank y'all. We thank the fans and thank everybody that's on the pod. I appreciate y'all, man. Love y'all, man.
Love you too, brother. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, fellas, always a joy. Even when and I promise I don't know, maybe this is the problem, guys. You guys wake me up at 6:30 in the damn morning to be on the show. You're gonna get cranky Jordan from time to time. Like it's
I gotta have your insight on here though, Jordan. I gotta have it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. That we got to see a rare side of AC today. He does not like Josh Heupel, doesn't like Tennessee. Low down, dirty bastard stitches. So I appreciate those rascals, those scallywags. But no, fellas, I appreciate it more than you know. This is always a joy. We will find. I promise. As much as it sounds negative, when there's positive stuff to talk about, we do. We did a little bit of it today. If you're skipping around, try to find the Bagent talk.
We let off with DJ Moore. I mean,
yeah, DJ Moore it was all very positive there. So we'll be better about it, and we'll do a show next week if for some reason there's some crazy trade or something we need to talk about. But I don't really think I need to hear about Kellen Deesh or somebody being cut, and then they picked up John Jingleheimer Schmitz from so and so's. I just don't think we need that. But we will see.
We pick up John Michael Schmitz. I mean,
yeah, that's something. But if not, we'll see you all Packers week. Chad, I appreciate you all being here. It's fantastic. Always glad to serve and to entertain. And fellas, I couldn't do this without you, so I enjoy it. And everybody have a wonderful week. Bear down.
Bear down. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that First of all, it's always down to you boys. You're the reason why I come on this show. You know what I mean? It's like I've got to know you boys over the last couple of years, and it's just the highlight of my week when I get a chance to talk about Bears football with you boys. Well, I think the best thing is, like, next time we talk in 2 weeks, it's going to be proper football. So it's not going to be none of this. Well, what ifs? We're going to be commenting on things that are actually going to be happening now. So all the sort of theories can all go to bed, and we're going to be watching proper football. But also this week, I've seen another side of AC as well, which I never thought were in USC. You know what I mean?
Hey,
so
it's college football season now, man. I watched a little bit last night. By the way, the Irish, that shit was really cool to see them playing out in Ireland. I'll get to it in my show.
Oh, in Dublin, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Well, saw another side of AC today, so we'll have to be a bit careful when we go out in Chicago, AC. But no, thank you to everybody in the chat. Everybody have a great week and have a safe week, and can't wait for the season to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll follow your all sentiment. Definitely thank you for coming on here with me this morning, letting me vent a little bit. Get a little bit of Tennessee frustration out. I don't let the bear out of the cage that often, but when it comes out swinging, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Definitely everybody in the chat, Jay Grizz, Matthew Fochese's here every week, Taurine's here every week, Frank Hacks was in here today, even though
Bobby Foster.
Foster covers
awesome.
all the regulars, and tell your friends about it if y'all could. Hit the like on your way out. Leave a comment. Tell your friends. Share it. Do all those things. Subscribe to the Ballroom is the number one thing you got to do. Because if you're a Bears fan, if you're a Cubs fan, go Cubs go. If you're a White Sox fan, if you're a Blackhawks fan, we cover all Chicago sports here. And if you're subscribed, it'll let you know when we're live, which is awesome. And so definitely like, comment, subscribe. All those things that you hear on all of the shows. Cubbies are shooting for the playoffs, so that's fun to watch. That's what I've been watching. Also, shout out to college football coming back. I watched the Irish play the Navy yesterday while I was smoking some wings, which was those came out beautiful.
That is not the way I saw that coming out your mouth. I was like, wait a minute. You was doing
chicken wings. Your boy ain't got down with that stuff since high school. And actually, go off on a little tangent here. My birthday, I tried it, and I got sick as a dog, like throwing up. So I was like, I guess I just can't hang no more. I don't know what the deal is. I'll just drink from now on. But,
edibles, man. Eat one. Be good.
I don't know. I don't like to test it.
AC comes on the show every week talking about, well, I'm smoking some good food, and I'm like,
hey, my wife got me a smoker for Father's Day, and I have been putting it to use. Let me tell you, I smoke something every time I get a chance.
I need you to send me your address. I need to see how far you are from me again.
I got you, bro. I got you. I made some ribs last weekend.
How were the ribs? I have to ask before we get out of here. How were the ribs?
Actually, I did the 3-2-1. I did the 3 hours while we were on the show. Yep. Then I got off and I wrapped them and I put them back on, and I had to cut grass. So I'm cutting grass while it's going for the 2 hours. I go back to my smoker and I got an error code, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I open up my hopper and I've got pellets in there, but they were all on the back wall. So I had to push them all down, refill it, start it back up. Man, I didn't get to eat my ribs till like 8 hours later because they were smoking for so damn long.
We don't have to, this is not the barbecue podcast, but like the smokers podcast. But I got to tell you, I guess you'd have a million smokers podcasts doing what you're talking about. But I would be, maybe we'll come up with a segment, because AC, I laugh and I'm just like shaking my head, because for anybody that's out there, smokers are supposed to be this really easy tool to barbecue. They're almost like set and forget. They feed the pellets into it. You have some fancy ones that give you like Wi-Fi to like set the temperature and stuff. I'm not kidding. I have a smoker too. I've had it for a while. I have never, ever had like an easy cook. It just doesn't exist. Like either you'll put it to 450 and for some reason it's fire coming out the top. Like there's just more heat than you want. Like it's feeding it too many pellets. It's just it's supposed to be easy, and it's the hardest thing ever. Every time I cook ribs, AC, I do the 3-2-1 method as well. I'm not kidding. It's like a 12 to 16 hour process. I started like 6 in the morning. Well, because you're seasoning them, you're spraying them with the apple juice, you get your little mop, you're wrestling. Barbecue.
I just order out.
It is a passion.
I just order out because 16 hours is far too long for one thing.
It gives you, hey, if you throw something on there that's going to smoke for 6 to 8 hours, that gives you plenty of time to get a couple brewskis in.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point, mate.
Yeah, so I want to get back on the college football thing. It was really cool to see the Irish. It was disrespectful what y'all did to our Naval Academy, but it was really cool to see them. They were just beating the hell out of them guys. But I told my wife, I was like, man, Navy's just happy to be there. They're all going to go out and get drunk anyway. But anyway, so that was really cool. I tried to watch USC last night, but they were only on the Pac-12 network. How do you have the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and playing in his first game of the year on week 0, and you don't have it on national television? What is that?
They weren't playing anybody, but boy, oh boy, did he look good.
Yeah,
Caleb Williams looked good.
Kinfolk had 4 touchdowns, bro. Look, I never advocate for my mans to fail. All right. But if it was the way that motherfucker could come to Chicago.
He's about to be in Arizona throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. with they'll call Lincoln Riley to come be their head coach as well and try that all over again probably. So because they look pretty bad and they got the Texans first round pick as well, so they got that going for them. Man, I've completely gone off the rails here. I was trying to do shout outs. Yeah, so as I
we supposed to end the show 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, subscribe to the bar room. You get your crosstown crosstalk where we're talking Cubs and White Sox, mostly Cubs because they're playing meaningful baseball in a really fun pennant race that's coming down to the wire. Every game matters. It's really awesome to watch that. Talking Blackhawks, a lot of that is Vinny Parisi. I mean, that guy just works every day. It seems like he definitely. And I usually listen back on Spotify, but he's a good dude. I'd love to have him back on here, definitely. But so yeah, subscribe to the bar room, like, comments, do all the things. But let me get up here so I can close this out. We'll just leave everybody until then with a bear down.
Bear down, everybody.
Bear down.